Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Conscience, and you're listening to the Conscience Hip Hop Podcast. We are on part 2, the back end. We're going to take it home on this interview. Got the man Josh Miles here, and we're just going to get right back into our questions here. So, a lot of people in the urban context don't have a lot of biblical perspective when it comes to how to approach music, how to approach business. What are some of the challenges you've seen when it comes to stepping into the hip hop arena and the business arena today? The challenges.
Challenges.
For the Christian.
For the Christian. Man, I think there are a couple. I think the first one is, it's sad and unfortunate, but everybody wants something for free. There are, I think a lot of times, so I'm gonna just give you the in-depth version.
Sure.
I'm reading a book, or I've pretty much finished it, but it's called Oikonomics by a dude named Mike Green. And he talks about how the premise of the book is the word oikos is the word for family. And he
Greek?
It's the Greek word for family. And he basically makes the point that Jesus is the great economist because he knows how to make investments into his household. Okay? And so what he says is that there are 5 different types of capital. He says there's spiritual capital, there's physical capital, there's relational capital, there's intellectual capital, and there's financial capital.
Now, by capital, I'm breaking this down for old dudes with 5th grade mentality. So capital, you would define as value, right?
Yes, value. Worth. Yep. So, a lot of times we only think of investment in regards to financially, right? But we make investments in multiple ways, in those 5 different ways. Now, spiritual capital, he makes the argument, and it's crazy how he does it because he looks at the scriptures and shows how in Jesus' ministry and in the Gospels, Jesus kind of fleshes this out in a lot of different ways. Spiritual capital is the most valuable capital.
Sure.
Financial capital is the least valuable capital.
Wow.
He starts off the book, one of his first chapters, he talks about the prosperity gospel and basically how the prosperity gospel is flawed because of the fact that they make financial capital the greatest and also make the other 4 contingent on the fact that your financial capital be at a certain place.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
He makes the point that financial capital is the least valuable, and so here's where I'm going with that. If that's the case, if financial capital is the least valuable, then that means that when guys ask for stuff for free, like everybody wants a handout. Like, oh, I don't have the money and da-da-da-da-da. The reality is, when you don't pay for something, you really don't value it most times.
Right.
Anything that somebody gets for free normally doesn't have the value. You don't even place the value on it that you would if you would have spent some money for it.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so part of the challenge that I've come across is dudes just aren't willing to invest in themselves. It's like you want to do music full time. Bet. I'm okay with that. That's a cool goal to have.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? What are you doing to invest in yourself?
Right.
Right? And it's just like, well, I don't have the money.
They'll look at you dead in the face and go, well, I rap.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And yo, if you just want to do it as a hobby, cool. But you said you wanted to do this full time and you wanted to really go after this. And I'm like, you got to invest in yourself. So guess what? If you don't have the money, work hard and save the money until you can get to a place where, you know, learning what does it look like to find investors? What does it look like to, get creative in funding and all those different types of things? Dudes just don't know that stuff, man.
Well,
you know
and I'm gonna press you on this. So I'm hearing you say all this to me. Dude, I don't like to read, man. I suck at reading. I can't read. Also, I still gotta look fresh. I still gotta put. I gotta go out and get some good food on the weekend. Come on, man. I gotta still be able to do me. I gotta be able to live.
Yeah, it's an issue of priority.
Yeah.
Anybody, you place value on what you spend your time and money on. Those are like, look at somebody's bank account, you'll know what they place value in.
Yeah.
Look at what they spend their time doing, you'll know what they place value in.
Right.
At the end of the day, for the person that's serious, there's sacrifice that goes into it. There is a seriousness in regards to, I've got goals and I've laid out a plan on how I'm gonna reach those goals. So for me, that's honestly one of the discouraging and heartbreaking things is that there are a plethora of cats with potential, but cats just aren't willing to invest in themselves. And I mean, even time-wise, it's just like, man, like, you're kicking it on the weekends, but the dudes that, like, J. Cole is in the studio on the weekends.
On tour.
You know what I'm saying? On tour. On the bus. I mean, I think Cole's a phenomenal rapper. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I don't endorse his content. Mm-hmm. But there is just a commitment to excellence.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, where the dudes that are going to be disciplined and consistent enough to, like, when you see them say they want to take it seriously, it's like when you look at how they live life, it's like, oh snap, he wasn't kidding.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's one thing. Dudes just don't invest in themselves. And I don't just mean financially, even though financially is usually the one thing where it's just like, if it's the least valuable form of capital, it should be the first thing you're willing to do.
It's so backwards too, because even as I'm hearing you say that, and I'm even matching it with my own upbringing, and I've been, for those of you who don't know, I've been doing spoken word, into rap, into graffiti, and I even did breakdancing for a long time since I was like 11 years old. I'm almost 28. So it's amazing because not only are dudes not willing to spend money on themselves, but like they clearly recognize the need for capital, right? They need money to market, they need money to print CDs, they need money for equipment, they need money to open up for acts and events and stuff like that. But it's like pulling teeth to get them to scrape some dough together or work double shifts, or and then even then it might be like once in the year they saved up $500 to record an album, or once that year they saved up $1,000 to market on Rapzilla, and then it's just like, it's amazing to me how much people wished. And I think social media plays such a big deal in this, and I couldn't quite connect it to you in like a concise response, but it's just like, it amazes me how many people today actually anticipate the satisfaction of gain with no work.
Yeah, man.
It's wild to me. Like dudes would love to say, I'm super ill at rapping. I just got discovered one day on SoundCloud. I began going on tour and I got signed. And they would literally look at that 10 years down the road as like the hard story.
Yeah, man.
Like, no, like they don't want to invest. They don't want to, like, they want the LeBron story.
Yeah, man.
And I love when Stephen A. Smith goes in on this. There's a famous clip of Stephen A. Smith just going in on cats because people want the Cinderella story of success, and they're not looking at it from the reality that is like a speck of the actual percentage of how people become successful.
Yep.
Yeah, there are people out there who run into opportunities that are once in a lifetime that completely allow them to, like Mario, skip 5, 6, 7, 8 level and get to the boss, so to speak. You know, they can just jump on a bandwagon to success. That's a very short road for them. But for most people, it's a lot of trial, error, success, rejection, learning, failing, over and over and over and over and over, and this little opportunity and that little opportunity and this bit of momentum and that bit of momentum, you know, the highs and lows, and it's all going in one direction. That is the actual life for most people seeking success in whatever it is. And then on top of that, not only are they not willing to work hard, but they're, in many cases, if they do get off their high horse and pursue that, they have no spiritual capital.
Yep.
They aren't even wrapping their head around that being the priority. You may get a cat who's hungry enough to then put in all the hard work within the business side of things, but then they just have no spiritual capital, so they're just, it's dead weight. And yeah, they might get the money in the end, but it's not coming from a place of Christ-centeredness and fellowship and serving the local community and fostering dudes into being discipled and things like that. So it's just crazy.
Yeah, man. And I think this goes back to what we talked about before about having a team. You know, when you have a squad around you, you're held accountable to the fact of like, yo, I've got people around me that's not just letting me go to my spiritual life, go to the wayside in pursuit of other stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that cats' gifts should flow out of their service to the local church. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not plugged into the local church, serving, getting it in with believers, and have some kind of church structure that you're accountable to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just like, yo, just put the mic down for a season, yo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times I think you find that it's like, oh man, it's an idol though. You know, me putting the mic down is gonna kill my brand, kill my notoriety. Like, yeah, I know I don't have a job right now, but I'm gonna keep rapping. It's like, come on, man. Like, there's just
or the guy who doesn't rap at all, but occasionally, maybe 4 times a year, puts a song on SoundCloud and wants to be taken seriously as an MC.
Yeah, and I mean, and so as we talk about this, like, I feel the tension of like, man, you got a bunch of different wheels that's got to spin in sync, you know. But I think that's just the reality of what it looks like to be a man. You know, if we're talking about hip hop dudes,
Yeah.
and be faithful with the things that are necessary. And then when you say, okay, I'm faithful with the things that are necessary, let me start exploring the stuff that I just like to do. You know what I'm saying? Rapping being one of those things that it's just like, okay, man, like, yo, this dude has people around him that see him as a faithful dude. If you can go talk to his pastors, they'll tell you he's faithful. Okay, now bet. Let's start exploring what it looks like for you to go after this thing. You know what I'm saying? And like, I mean, I felt the tension. I mean, I think most dudes feel the tension, but it's learning how to, once again, have people around you that can speak into your life, that you trust, dudes that's not yes men. Or like, please don't have a bunch of yes men. Like, have dudes around you that when you start bugging are gonna call you to the carpet and say, nah, I'm my brother's keeper. It ain't going down like that. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of dudes that you want to surround yourself with. I think, once again, this points back to a discipleship issue. And I think that is the struggle in the local church. I think a lot of times, once again, we're giving information to people and not walking with them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, who are the cats that are gonna walk with you in the seasons of you doing music, in the seasons of you getting married, in the seasons of you doing ministry, in the seasons of you doing all these different things.
Yeah.
That it's like, man, it's hard to keep these things balanced at times. And when, guess what? If it starts getting too unbalanced, it's like, we need to put some stuff on pause for a season, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's okay to fall back from some stuff for a while so that we can get some other stuff back in alignment, because the things that are necessary have to be priority. You know, like, you can't just let your marriage go to the wayside. And I think, I mean, you know, we've seen examples of that happening when it's like, man, like, marriage is tough, but I'm still doing the music stuff, and we need cats in our life that say, you know something, put the mic down, fam. Put the mic down. Like, your wife is the priority. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just let that just fall off while you still doing shows. And it's like, nah, man, like, you know, and I've been in that space, so I'm speaking from experience, not just as the dude who's like, oh, I don't know what that's like. You know what I'm saying? Like, me and my wife been in a place where it's like, we are overly busy, and our marriage is suffering as a result.
Right.
And guess what? We just gotta shut it down. You know, we've been there, man. So yeah, I think those are some of the challenges. Like I said, it's a lot, but I mean, once again, the need for community is essential.
And I think with fellowship, the dope thing about fellowship is when you hear what's going on around you in the local community, you begin to see needs, and you begin to have desires to serve in ways that you would never have found if you were lone wolf in it. You know, so it can be easy to put the microphone down if you actually see the other needs going around in your community where you might be useful. If you didn't have that fellowship, you would never know. And I think a lot of cats are very one-dimensional with how they serve the community, because they only see a microphone when they think about serving their local community. Which is crazy.
You mean rapping in a spiritual gift?
I can't even go in on that because we'd be here for a whole nother podcast. But, you know, and I think about when you said the yes man thing, like, I think about my boy Dean from, those of you who don't know, Dean from Sweat City. I've brought his movement up many a times so far on this podcast. Dope dude. I remember a couple weeks back I told him, I said, dude, there's only like 5 MCs in Arizona like 5 Christian MCs who even make quality music. And Dean got so mad.
Dang.
He's texting me. I could tell he has some emotion. He had the Jordan meme text coming my way. And then two minutes later, like, he just called me. And I was like, whoa, okay. And he called me. He was like, yo, how dare you basically say that? He's like, let's go through the MCs right now. And we started going through, and it wound up being like 10, 11 right off the top. He was like, yeah, man, there are dudes out here who are doing it. And we were talking about getting on a mixtape he was trying to put together. And I remember just thinking, like, you know, I have a history in Arizona. I don't collab much at all.
Yep.
I used to never be in a fellowship perspective for like hip hop and stuff like that. I just didn't have that team. And when I got involved in stuff in the past, it was very half-butt, you know, not a lot of promptness. I'm big on like keeping your word and and having a successful thing that portrays the glory of Christ in not only a professional way but a biblically accurate way. And so, you know, I always tiptoe into new ventures with cats, even Christians. And so you know, I threw that out there, you know, basically as kind of a stab, saying, you know, a lot of cats out here that claim to do Christian anything just seem half-hearted into it, and or they're just not taking it that seriously. And so I was kind of basically just saying, like, yo, if you want to put me on this project, I want you to be grabbing cats who are all making a similar quality of music in a certain arena. Like, I'm not for because this guy says he reps Christ, we go into all these different ventures together and do things and give each other a pass. But I appreciated his passion to fellowship and flush that out with me and like take a stand for something. Yeah. And you need cats like that who say, like, yo, like, you know, keep yourself in line with like pursue the fellowship thing and like, we need to make this happen. And there are guys who are hungry and passionate, and I'll show you a few, and we can just dialogue like that. Nowadays, you can't critique music, you can't do anything, or all of a sudden you're commenting on someone's spirituality, or they're not saved, or they're not reformed, and it is just it just gets pretty ridiculous. But all right, guys and gals, that's the end of part 2. Guys, I told you we were going to be breaking it down, getting into deep thinking and processing through how we become entrepreneurs, Josh's testimony, and the various things that he's passionate about. So we're almost through it, guys. I saved the best for last. Part 3 is going to be heavy hitting. I got some more bangers playing in the background. It's definitely something you don't want to miss. Stay tuned and check out that last part 3 so y'all can get it in with my boy Jay Miles. All right? Peace.